we need to make the face less close to the path, and we need to make the path less in and out. And see how your shaft comes underneath that in the impact? Over here on the left, you see that?
Yep.
So that's where your path coming too far to the right is. As you do that motion, you see your hip's gonna come off this wall, your head's gonna come off the wall, and then the club path goes too far in and out. To hit the ball straight and take the draw off in the curve, you want the club head to ride right up that and basically right back down that. 0.7, beautiful. Parallel to the original plane line at left arm parallel. So that is beautiful. Very good. Club head gets attached to that by just below hip high, rides right on the plane in impact, and then rides parallel to it into the follow through. Very, very good. Hey guys, just want to give a special shout out to our sponsors, Municipal. You guys see me wearing the hats and the shirts in all of these videos. They've been a great partner for us, and I absolutely love all of the clothing, and really they're just getting better and better and better. They're dropping new gear all the time. Some of it's in limited quantity, so if you want to go check that out and you like it, make sure you grab that right away. They've got a new line of golf apparel coming out, but they don't have just the golf stuff. I'm also wearing the Municipal things really everywhere. I wear the shorts and t-shirts to the gym. The hoodies that they have are like the most comfortable thing, the hoodies and the sweatpants. So it's really stuff that I can wear and you can wear when you're going to play golf, but it's also casual. I mean, I could leave the golf course, be at home, go to the gym. Absolutely love the Municipal gear. If you haven't tried any of it before, grab a polo, grab a Municipal hat. You're gonna absolutely love their gear. We'll put the link in the description down below. So if we look at this and like, why does that ball flight pop up? There's 3 numbers on the bottom there, right? We have club path, face angle, and then face to path. So anytime, like if we go play any sport, right? Let's say whatever we're doing, if we have a ball that curves too far left, and you like bring that down to the simplest form possible, that would happen because the face gets too close to the path.
Sure.
Right? That's 1 + 1 = 2 sort of stuff,
Easy,
right?
yeah.
So are you with me on that? That's yeah. So if we look at your club path and your club face, the club path for you is, let's say, 6 degrees to the right. Now that was a little bit more than the last one. Let's say you're somewhere between 3 and 6 degrees to the right. So that's like from in to out. I'm going to speak to you as if you know nothing. Cool. Right? So like from in to out. Now your club face was 6 degrees closed relative to that in-out club path. You with me? Yeah. So as that club head comes in, let me just have you stand like right here for a second. As that club head comes in, let's say on this sort of direction, 6 degrees, that club face is just a little bit too closed relative to that club path. Now that's a good thing. I mean, you hit an 8-iron 160, 170 with a draw. That puts you in an elite percentage of golfers, right? Yeah. The question then is like, okay, how can we take a little bit of that draw off and a little bit of that over curve? And the answer, regardless of how we do it, comes down to us not allowing the face to close to the path too much. Okay. You with me on that?
Yep.
Simple. So like, regardless, you can hop again, regardless of how we would get there, or like when you leave here today, you go golf the rest of your life, you and me, if I go play and I over curve it, I know, okay, the face is closed to the path. Yep. I need to do something to not allow that to happen. That might be the part you mentioned, which is past impact. Don't let the toe pass the heel as much. Maybe it's something that's set up, maybe it's something earlier. I also would probably bring your club path in a little, right? So like, let's say you wanted to, because you said, hey, right now I'm drawing it, right? But I want to have a little bit less draw and a little bit more, let's say a little bit more neutral. It doesn't have to fade, but maybe more straight, right? So if we look at club path here, the last couple of shots you hit, 5 degrees to the right, 5, 6, 5, 3, 6. So that's the amount you're swinging in and out. So let's say you swing the object, you know, in and out too much, this way, and the club face was dead square to that in and out path. Which way would the ball go? Straight push. Straight push. Yeah. So if you are going to swing 5 to the right, you have to close the face to it to get it to curve back to the target. And then you're just playing the game of how much, right? So if we want to go dead straight, not only do we need to make the face close to the path less, but we also need to make the path more neutral. So dead straight would be like 0-0. Right. Right? So when you probably try and hit a fade, I would bet your like little fade feels would produce pretty neutral. And then when you really try and fade it, you probably hit like a push cut that goes short right.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So a lot of players have your pattern, and I know that pattern because I had a long time too. When you're swinging 6 to the right, if you open the face to path, you just push cut it. So anyway, your fade path feels probably would put you pretty neutral, and then we could just neutralize the face a little bit. So the point is, we need to make the face less close to the path, and we need to make the path less in and out. So let's start with the club path. So let's say you wanted to swing less to the right, and you want to feel like the club path is more neutral. How would you think to do that?
So the first thing I would think of is open the stance a little bit.
Okay.
And then
go ahead.
Just instead of, I would try to keep the club outside of my hands.
Yep.
On the way back. And then just on the downswing, just feel like I'm swinging a little bit more to the left.
Let's try that without the open stance part.
Okay.
Let's try square stance. Let's try what you feel like is a little bit out to in, and let's see what happens with the path. Let's do one or two of those.
Cool.
So stance stays square. You feel like you change the path a little bit more neutral. Okay, 0.3, 0.9, 0.6, so very good. And now that's you just feeling like your club path's a little more out to in, right?
That's the feeling.
Stance stays square. So let's do that one more time. So stance is square, club path feels a little bit more out to in. All right, good. So you're able to change that, obviously. That one, maybe if you hit off the toe a little bit, but that one, or you're able to change your club path pretty quickly.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
By just feeling it.
But I didn't really have a perception on the difference between that one and the one before. Maybe you said I hit it off the toe, but even if I didn't, like I didn't.
Exactly.
I'm kind of lost back here in space.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going off of pure athleticism from there.
Right, and part of that you need to do forever. Okay. And I think the goal is then like, it's important that your brain knows how to find middle. So like, just the fact that you know, hey, here's what I need to feel to go outside in. Now we got to look at the details and say, hey, why, where, how, what are the details of it? But when you go on the golf course, you're not going to have all that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you still knowing how to adjust from day to day, that's still part of the game, right? I would always try and do that first. Like whenever you can solve a problem with as simple as possible, go that route. But then if you can't, like if I say to you, hey, swing outside in, whatever, and then and it doesn't solve it, then you got to dig into the details, right? So we have a path that's too far in now and a face that gets too open. As you go up to the top of the swing, just put some standard stuff on here first. As you go up to the top of the swing, plenty of distance, contact pieces were fine. It's like, how do we get the path less in and out? A little underplane on the way back, a little bit of excessive head motion off the ball. You know, one of the pieces here with your wrist angles and your grip, you know, your club face angle actually gets borderline a little open at the top. That's from your wrist angles and your arm rotation, which we can dive into. But as you start to come down, you beautiful job in transition. So very, very good job in transition. Lots of athletic motion. So that's like mint. And then you're just a little bit too far under plane. So you see this red line on the left? Mm-hmm. And see how your shaft comes underneath that in the impact? Over here on the left, you see that?
Yep.
So that's where your path coming too far to the right is. As you do that motion, you see your hip's gonna come off this wall, your head's gonna come off the wall, and then the club path goes too far in and out. And that's effectively what makes the path too far to the right. And then with that, there's a little bit of excessive rolling past impact. So that's you like
that's the
closing
bringing
the
it back.
face.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we need to adjust both of those. We would want to have the club more on this plane line. So the goal here is when he comes down during the downswing, we want to have the club head ride right down that line. So see how his shaft's right dead on that line? And ours is too far under it. Ours is too far under it. See those differences? So then when you come in, your club goes under plane and his ride's right on that plane. So see your club there and see his club there. They're about the same spot. So a little bit under plane on the way back. This is the part I'm talking about the wrist angles at the top. But it's not really causing any issues. So his compared to yours, his right wrist is more bent back, which is like extension. Yours is more flat at the top.
Okay.
And you have a little bit of excessive forearm rotation, so the face is slightly open. There's tour players like that. It's just like, a little bit more work to do on the way down, right? But again, I could show you people that do that in the Hall of Fame. It's not necessarily a bad thing. And then as you start to come down, he rides right on that plane line. This club head's right on that plane line. Yours is too far under. And you see his hip stays on the wall, whereas yours comes off. And then when you get past impact from face on, there's just a little bit of excessive rolling of how much you have the right arm under of left. So he still has that as well. You just have more of it, more of it. So you see his club path, 1.2 to the right versus 5.9. That's what you getting on that plane will do. So let me just have you stand here. I'm going to do a little recap of that just so you can see that. Cool. So here's kind of where we're at. I think your setup pieces are good. A little bit too much anterior pelvic tilt. That's part of what makes your hips kick in. Okay. So I would say at the setup, let's round your hips under a little bit more. Tuck your hips under. I'll show you how to do that. I would leave your backswing alone for the moment. The potential areas for improvement is the little underplane early. There's a little bit of potential touch up with the wrist angles and the forearm rotation at the top. I don't see that as a priority right now. The priority for me is when you draw the line up the shaft at setup to hit the ball straight and take the draw off in the curve, you want the club head to ride right up that and basically right back down that. Like literally if it went right up and down that like his does, straight shots. Okay. You with me on what I mean by that?
Yeah,
that part?
I got you.
So our question is, how do we get you to do that? What do we need to feel? So we go up to the top. The club comes a little under that plane line. The hips kick in, and then there's excessive face rotation. I know that pattern. A lot of very good players do that. So how do we fix that? Tuck your hips under. Same backswing. Learn how to get the club on plane with the hips staying deeper and reduce some of the face rotation on the way through. That's the play.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put this in a place where it's going to keep your club more in front so you can't get too under plane. And the goal here, and there's loads of ways to set this up, the objective is you need something when you're hitting balls to A, like when we talked about swinging outside in, to have something that gives you a feel, and then B, have something that gives you feedback so you know, like, hey, am I doing this right or not?
Right.
You're going to know via the ball flight, but I also want some sort of check here. So I've got this set up where if I draw a line up the shaft, I should be able, and I ride the club right up and down that shaft line, I should stay in front of the noodle. Now, this is probably as difficult as I would set it up. Maybe I'll do it just a smidge easier and we're going to make it a little harder. Effectively, when we were hitting the fades and you were feeling outside in, so normally for you, you would go stance open, outside in, hold the face a little. I would get the stance square. I wouldn't feel outside on the way back, but I would feel just the downswing part. Okay. That's kind of how this is going to feel for you. So I'm going to take normal setup. I'm going to ride right up and down that plane line. I'm going to tuck your hips under a little bit at setup. Feel what that feels like to have the club on over this first, and then we'll do some of the hip depth pieces. So right up and down that plane, we're looking to get the club path numbers pretty neutral. So there we go. So club path 0.1. Now let's look at this video and see the plane line. So see when I draw this up, you can come up here as you can see this. So see when I draw this up the shaft here, I would put an object underneath that. So like we can angle it this way, we can angle it all kinds of ways. The point is just that there's like something right underneath where your shaft is at setup. That's the objective. Okay. So the goal is when we come down, we want to have that club ride right down that. So as we come back down, let's see if I did that well or not. Parallel to it in transition, which is the goal. And you see how that club head is right on that. It's kind of hard to see with the lighting, but I'm like right on that, tracing right on that line in the impact. And then the face doesn't rotate as much through impact. So if you look at this here, compared to our normal, see when I get past impact, that right arm's not rolled as far over the left. That would make the face not as close to the path. And these are, you got 8 irons?
8 iron, yeah.
Let's go with what feels like about a half swing at like 50% speed. Okay. And I'll guide you through. So your hips feel like they're tucked. Yeah, good. They almost feel like they're under this, almost like you're sloppy. Yeah, good. It's like non-athletic. And now just a little halfway back, halfway through to get a feel for where that noodle is and the fact that you can stay on top of that. Let's do about 5 of those. Attaboy, good. Tuck your hips under. Attaboy, good. Keep the club on top of that plane line. Beautiful. 2 more. hips under on top of the plane line. Excellent, one more. Hips under on top of the plane line. And now what we do, like I think when I practice, practicing and only giving yourself ball flight feedback is like fool's gold. And for me, for like 15 years, it was a recipe for disaster. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And why I say that is, you and me, like I can go out and make a ball flight happen correctly, incorrectly, in multiple ways.
Right.
What I want to do when I practice, what I would recommend you do is like, I want to know on every single hit, did I do this right or not? So if you have that set up and you have a video behind you, and I'm you right now for the next like 6 months, I would draw a line up the shaft. I would do a couple practice swings. I'd hit one ball and I'd go immediately over and say, okay, was my club on the line, hips under, was my club on the line or not? And just rinse and repeat that until it's easy, and then that will go away.
Okay.
With me?
I like that a lot.
Cool. Hips are under at setup, club is on plane. That should be pretty close. Attaboy, good. Minus 2.1. Now let's see what that looks like. And then what you're looking to do, like, if you did this for the next 12 months, would you need to day-to-day be so much finding your feels? No.
No.
It's going to be easier.
Yeah.
But will there still be some element of like, can you overdo or underdo? If you watch any golf on TV, we know that's fact, right? Those guys don't hit the ball perfect. But it'll be less and less and less and easier and easier and easier. But in the beginning, when you're learning it should be like, you should feel with that, like, okay, that was a little too much. That wasn't enough. Okay, I found middle, and then now let me hammer home what middle is, right?
Yeah, that's all we're looking for, is that feeling.
That feeling,
you know?
and just find a neutral. So that was 2.1, so that should be pretty good here. Let's check our plane line. Good. Yeah, beautiful. Now you're right on top of that. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Right on top of that, boom, boom. Very, very nice. Good. Attaboy. 0.5. So let's see where that puts us with our plane line. So now, so we move this in from where we started a little bit, right? So if this is our original plane line here, we got it just underneath that. So we got to stay above that. Living on the edge there with the takeaway. And now we're riding right back on that. Beautiful, dude. Very, very nice. And then even on the way through, you know, what we're looking to do on the way through is match the plane line again. So see how that's parallel to this original shaft line? If you can always keep that parallel, like if I'm parallel to that when I come down, so see in transition, that shaft's about parallel to the original plane line. And on the way through, it's parallel. It's real hard to not have a neutral club path from there. You'd have to be aimed, or your ball position would be really out of whack. So like if you are going to watch yourself on video, those would be the lines that we're always looking for.
Okay.
Parallel to on the way down, parallel to on the way through. Let's do that same thing one more time. So this is getting closer to like a full swing.
Okay.
Beautiful job on that 0.5. Very, very nice. .7. Beautiful. This is what I mean. That now it's like a reps thing. Like if I stood behind you and you and I met at the range for 30 minutes for like the next 30 days, this would be laughable. This would be very easy for you, right? In fact, you did it pretty darn good in like 10 swings. So the pieces we're checking again are back is flat, not tucked back, right? The club is on plane on the way down, which is our main priority first. Parallel to the original plane line at left arm parallel. So that is beautiful. Very good. Club head gets attached to that by just below hip high, rides right on the plane into impact, and then rides parallel to it into the follow through. Very, very good. These are things that fix your root issue, but also you should go play and hit better with right away. This isn't a worse before better thing. It should be moving towards your direction. We talked, what was the first thing you wanted to get rid of? Overhooks to the left, right? What's responsible for that? The first thing we said was, hey, let's explain face to path. Your path's too far to the right, the face is too closed. Okay, what can I do in swing that's going to change that? Get the club back on plane. And then tick away at these little micro things.